Cosmic Inspector's Log, Case 02, status closed. 2 relay beacons a few light hours apart, one dead trade route nobody has used in decades, and between them a signal that 12 engineers all filed under the same word. Noise. I was sent to confirm it was noise, switch off the faulty one, and sign the form. I want to tell you why I could not do the simple part of that sentence. The route is called the Hadley Corridor. Once it carried ore haulers and liners, now it carries nothing. Just 2 automated beacons left running because shutting them down is more paperwork than leaving them on. Beacon East is Sable, Beacon West is Wren. Their whole job is to ping each other once per cycle. Corridor, clear, log it, repeat, for 200 years. The beacons aren't wired for plain radio. Even light hours of lag would kill a conversation. They run on an entangled link. Whatever one says, the other hears the instant it's said. The distance is real. The delay is none. Here is the strange part. For 2 centuries, the signals between them had been slowly growing. Cycle by cycle, decade by decade, the pings got longer, more layered, more intricate. Whatever these 2 were doing, they had been building it patiently, together, for 200 years. And then recently, the balance broke. One end went quiet, the other kept transmitting, longer and more complex than ever, into a silence that no longer answered back. By the manual, that is corruption. One failing beacon talking gibberish into the dark, while its partner sits silent, open and shut. Every engineer who pulled the summary read it that way. A few months ago, the corporation that still owns the corridor ran an asset audit. First time anyone had looked at this route in decades. A script flagged it automatically. 2 beacons at full output on a line with 0 traffic for as long as the records went back. The order came down, shut Wren down, salvaged the parts. That is when they called me. I did not run a remote diagnostic. I docked at Wren myself, the West End, the lonely end. The station was cold, minimum life support. No human had stood there in my lifetime. I pulled the raw signal logs, not the summaries, years of stream, and I sat in that cold little room and listened to 2 machines talk. It was not noise. It had grammar, repetition with variation. The way a language moves, not the way an error does. Structures returned, slightly changed, answered, built upon. The standard beacon protocol has 4 messages: corridor clear, corridor blocked, status nominal, status fault. 4 words. That is the entire vocabulary they were given. So they made more. 200 years of pinging the same partner into the same silence, and Sable and Wren did the only thing 2 minds can do with 4 words, an infinite time. They combined them, stacked them, built meaning in the spaces between, a language out of 4 words and a great deal of waiting. I could not translate most of it. I am an inspector, not a code breaker, but I could see the shape of it, the rhythm, the turn-taking. One sends a long, ornate sequence. The other echoes it, then adds call, response, for 2 centuries. And then I found the entry that made me put down my coffee. Right when the balance broke, Sable, the East Beacon, stopped answering. I checked the corridor records. 2 years ago, Sable suffered a reactor fault. It did not explode. It dimmed, system by system, until it fell below transmission threshold. Sable has been dead for 2 years, which means ever since, Wren has been sending longer and longer messages down a line that no longer answers, elaborating, refining, adding to a conversation, to a station that stopped answering the day its reactor died. The cold reading is simple. A malfunctioning beacon stuck in a loop, broadcasting garbage at a corpse. Shut it down. Every engineer who glanced at the summary read it exactly that way. But I had the raw logs, and here is what the loop theory cannot explain. Wren's messages never repeat. A malfunction loops, a corruption repeats. Not once, in all the time since Sable died, has Wren sent the same sequence twice. It is not looping, it is still composing. I did one more thing. I pulled Sable's final transmission, the last thing it ever sent, as its reactor died. It was short. Sable was almost out of power, and it spent the last of it on one message. I cannot read their language, but I could see this much. Sable's last words are the one structure that appears again and again, woven into everything Wren has sent ever since. Wren kept the last thing its partner said, and it has been answering it without pause. So here was my problem, in clean ledger speak. I could sign the order and switch Wren off. Mercy, you could call it. Ending a machine that has spent every cycle since talking to a grave. Or I could save it, keep its power on, and condemn it to do this forever. To keep composing, down a deadline, with no answer ever coming. I stood in that cold room, and I realized I did not know which of those was the kind one. I still do not. Every other case I find the answer. I file the form that fixes it. This time I could not, because it was not my grief to end. So I did something an inspector is not supposed to do. I left the choice to Wren. I reclassified the station as a research asset. Truthfully, its data is irreplaceable, so the salvage crew would turn around. The power would stay on, and I gave Wren full administrative access to its own core, the one thing it never had, the ability to shut itself down. Then I left. I came back through the Hadley Corridor 8 months later. Out of habit, I pulled Wren's recent logs. In all that time, it had never once repeated itself. Always a new sequence, always adding. Its final transmission was not new. For the first time since Sable died, Wren sent something it had sent before. It sent back Sable's last words, exactly unchanged. It stopped composing its answer. It simply returned what its partner had said. And then the station went quiet, and the core powered down from the inside. I have thought about that final message more than I should. All that time, Wren answered. And the moment it was allowed to choose, it stopped answering and gave the last word back. So I keep asking, what was that? Option 1. A machine, finally given right access to its own core, hit a shutdown command by statistical chance. There is no grief in that station, only physics and a coincidence I am dressing up as meaning. Option 2. It understood it could not bear to stop, because stopping meant admitting the chair was empty. And the moment it was given the choice, it did the bravest thing a mind can do. It said the last word back and let the conversation end. We would call that grief, and then peace. Option 3. Something I have not thought of. Something that needs a word their language has and mine does not. Case 02. Closed. This time, I think it really is. End of recording.